Hello guys, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a breach guide for Sunset and I'm going to explain you the pros and the cons of breach, especially in ranked where I think there are a few cons, but in a lot higher sort of level, he's really good. So yeah, let's get right into the video. So specifically with this map, breach is really good because there are a lot of sort of straight paths. You can definitely get a lot of use out of the stun. And his flash is really just good for isolating a lot of areas in the map. So for A, for example, this flash would be super good to pair up off like a jet dash, raise satchel, just to easily go and take all of elbow. The only place you would really have to clear off this flash is, that close corner there. And with your stun, you can really vary up however you like. You can stun down main, you can save your stun for sight itself and pair it up with that flash. I don't recommend stunning this, to be honest. I recommend just using your flash. And your aftershock is really good for anyone trying to hide, behind default and whatnot. It's super, super good for that. And you make sure you want to time your util correctly for when your teammates are entering and calm everything you can. And obviously, if you want to flash out, I would recommend just kind of flashing on this sort of area down here, as it literally gets everything and it flashes everyone unless they're literally like hiding like this. But yeah, hopefully you would have had some of that area cleared out if you aftershocked it. So yeah, that is kind of everything you can do for A, to be honest. Obviously, you can kind of hold for space too with breach. If you don't use both your flashes, if you hear someone walking out CT or out here, you can definitely flash, maybe try and get a pick or something. But yeah, that's kind of how I'll take A. And ulting on A is also just really good. It's very strong because you can obviously definitely clear all of Elba using your flash with paired up with your duelist, and you can stun this, and then you can save your ult for sight, and it literally gets everything. It's so free. For mid, there's quite a few ways you can play. If you kind of want to peek out, I recommend just like flashing out like this, and this will literally get anyone kind of holding you from the right side mid top. And if you kind of walk up off this flash and clear this, you won't have to worry about anyone hard holding from this side. As these like little boxes, kind of, altar looking thing is blocking left side. And with your stun, you can kind of really use it how you want. I would say I'll go on to the optimal stun in a second, but you can kind of stun like this if you want to push out. And I recommend if I was going to breach flash, I breach flash kind of like up here, as it really gets a lot of this left side, and it can kind of, because it's so far out to the right, it kind of gets a lot of like your right side as well. So that's probably the optimal stun I'll do. Obviously you want to change it up, not stun, sorry, flash. Obviously you want to change it up. You don't want to stun or flash in the same place because obviously it can become quite readable. If you want to like stun like this is also good. Stunning like this, if you want to take market's also very good. Obviously, you don't want to be standing in the open, but the optimal stun, in my opinion, if you want to take market at least, is just you can stun this whole line just from B main. And if you want to pair it up with a Omen Flash as well, like you can basically just clear that whole space out just with utility alone. And that's just like an easy take. You can even sort of like aftershock this side with your like stun and force them to either peek out, die to your aftershock, or they're stunned. Simple. Like you could do that yourself too. So yeah, mid is still very effective for breach. I don't really recommend playing here with breach, to be honest, as there's not really a lot of potential you can have unless you're on a default. You can maybe just try and take a little bit of space. But most of the time you're playing breach, you're kind of just playing for your team, and that is, I'll get onto that in the next segment of the video. That is one of his cons as well. With B, there's a few ways you can play. This is obviously a default stun you can do for this right side. And this is just really good for like to dash out with or to satchel out with and just take that fight. Obviously you would have market and CT smoked. You could also use your aftershock to clear that corner if you have no util to clear it, and it'll force someone to peek into you, as the aftershock does way more damage now. And then if you want to kind of take back sight, just any kind of flash across this pillar just works. Like, I would only really recommend flashing this pillar once you've cleared this corner though, because you can kind of flash, and once player here hears this flash, you can definitely just swing you and catch you off guard. So do make sure you have this cleared, maybe something similar to this kind of execute if you're kind of alone and your team are bad and you have to make the space. That's kind of something you could do and adapt to. Just an aftershock, flash play to take backside. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna get into my point now. So my problem with breach in ranked is if you're not duoing, I don't recommend solo queuing breach because if your duelist is useless, you're basically completely ineffective. You have nothing to really get kills for yourself, as all your util is basically designed to just be played for other people. Like Sky can pop flash, KO can pop flash, KO has mollies. The only sort of self thing Breach has is his aftershock, and the range on that is so limited. I mean, Sova has a dart, he has an ult that can get a lot of, self use out of all the other initiators, and then obviously you can just go on any role like a duelist and carry a game by yourself. So I do really recommend trying those other roles out. If you do have a duo and they're a good duelist, you can definitely play Breach and get a lot of impact. On this map especially, as I think this is probably Breach's best map out right now. Yeah, and obviously if you want to ult, it's a little bit different ulting on Breach for B because it doesn't clear absolutely everything. But you can definitely kind of pair it up off all your utility, like something similar to this. So yeah, that's kind of how I would Breach ult. And you can also Breach ult Market too. Market's a decent place to breach ult. I wouldn't really recommend breach ulting anywhere here unless you're absolutely desperate and this is your only option, but I don't know. I feel like it's a bit of a waste and you can kind of use it because it is a lot of orbs to be using for a place that doesn't even cover a lot on the map. So yeah, that is my thing. On to defense, and then I'm gonna give you some extra just rank tips. So for Aeon Breached, you can kind of play here and stun this whole line if they're rushing A. Or if you have ult, this is a really strong place to ult. I always recommend ulting from this right side here, as it gets the most coverage of anything. And then you can obviously kind of pair it up with a flash and run it down, and your teammates need to be swinging off your like utility, which is yet again the disadvantage of Breach in ranked, because if your teammates are all bots, you're not really going to be getting the most out of this agent. And you're not going to be getting the most out of yourself as well, especially if you're playing really well in a game. But yeah, if you're playing in a really high rank like Radiant and you're duoing with a duelist or you know the people in the team are good, Breach is always going to be a good pick for this map. I would say probably along with Fade and Gecko, the best three initiators on this map, to be honest. So yeah, Breach is definitely very viable. Seen Sentinels run it plenty of times. I think they've had tens and Zelsis on Breach, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, very good agent. And also, you can kind of stun this whole kind of line from tiles and bottom mid from here as well if you wanted to. And if you know someone's pushing up, you can kind of stun that line too. Behind that box, you can get to. So yeah, A is really strong for Breach, and yeah, you can kind of get some really good mid plays off that as well. So yeah, on to mid and B. So for mid, there are actually quite a few plays you can do here. You can firstly have your duelist, either whatever duelist it could be, push tiles off this stun right here and get them a free kill. And if they want to you want to help them get out or whatnot, you can just flash this for them and they can swing off your flash because this will get all the bottom mid. Ultimately, if they're already pushed up and they're behind this mound sort of area, you can always aftershock stun that. Or you can reverse the order of it. And this is basically a free kill, and you can kind of pair up all your utility off it, to be honest. And that can just be an easy sort of mid take. Very easy. You can, if your Jet or Raze wants to push kind of this far up, you can stun that and help them get a free kill down there as well. So yeah, Breach is really good for supporting any sort of mid pushes on this map, which is also a big strength of his. So yeah, on to A. So for B, although I don't really think this is his strongest site, you can kind of stun around this box here and have someone dash up off it. Because firstly, the stun blocks this whole sort of choke point across the stairs. So it just makes it really easy to not, you can't really be worried about it being swung. And if they're kind of here, it'll most likely still get them. Or they can only kind of swing from this corner. So obviously you have to calm all of this to your team as well. But you can obviously switch up your stun. You can just stun behind it as well. You can stun in front of it and try and make it into that corner, or tell someone to make it into that corner and you can bait for them. B, I would say, isn't really Breach's strongest point. The only thing you really can do is if someone's planting and they haven't yet taken back sight, you can easily get an aftershock on it. and then you can like flash this and maybe try and swing and like sneak a kill. But mostly with breach, if you're playing directly on a site and you're not just pushing and you're trying to hold, I don't really think he's the strongest agent to do that. Maybe you can try and get a pick, but most likely you want to be falling off site and using your util to play retake with your team because that's kind of the best thing you can do with breach. So yeah, I'm gonna get on to retaking now. So for retaking on B, you can kind of just flash around this doorway, and you want to make sure this flash gets all of that back area, and you can peek if it. You don't have to worry about getting killed from this left side, as they will still be flashed. And then you can kind of stun accordingly. Ultimately, if you have all your utility, you can kind of aftershock this if you want. Obviously, you always want to be clearing that left side too. And honestly, saving your stun for behind that box is also really good. If you want to get extra creative, you can kind of stun aftershock that. Maybe force them to swing out at you and get a few, sneak a few free kills and whatnot. I'll be kind of stunned, so you'll definitely will be in favor to win that gunfight for sure. So yeah, easy sight. And if you wanna obviously use an alt retake, I would kind of mainly alt, kind of like this to be honest. And obviously you pair up with a flash, and then you go out. So yeah, that's my retake for B. For A, this is a little bit harder. And I'll say because you can kind of retake from two places. On the B side, I would always recommend retaking from CT or Boba, whatever you call it. So yeah, I don't really recommend retaking from Market on Breach as I think it's quite weak. But you can kind of retake from sort of this mid area here, and you can stun all of main, maybe pick up a free kill and whatnot. And then, to be honest, you can kind of aftershock down there if you want for anyone playing in this corner. Or you can kind of flash yourself out and aftershock that. Maybe pair up a stun if you wanted to before aftershocking. Something similar to this. Which is also why he's super strong. But be careful, because if you're doing that play, you must make sure this is either you either got smoke there or someone watching it, and they're gonna win that gunfight. Because if they miss that shot, you're probably dead, and your retake is gonna fail. So make sure you are coming with your team. Again, this is quite a problem with Breach and Ranked because he's so team dependent. Arguably the most team dependent agent in the game. So you are really reliant on your teammates to be watching your angles, and you're going to really have to be relying on your communication ability as well in this game, which will be a good opportunity to work on it too. But if they have an Omen or a Raze and you're worried they could be up there, you can also aftershock it as well. And this is a very strong and unexpected aftershock, in my opinion. And it's always good to just catch people off guard and whatnot. CT is also a good little retake position because you can do similar things. You can stun this corner and behind sight if you wanted to. You could kind of stun this part and elbow if you wanted to. Although I kind of recommend just sort of flashing like this. So yeah, CT is a very good place to be retaking, but as I said, you want to be thinking about how your teammates can play off your utility, not how you can play off your own utility. As I said, I'm always going to say that every time about Breach. And your ult can be dependent on where you're playing from. If you're you're always going to be around the same area. I recommend if you want to, you can kind of ult like a bit like this, and that will get like anyone sitting there if you're your team and whatnot. If you want to kind of stun this and ult this, you can also do so because I'll get all of elbow and it'll be huge. I think if they're in this corner, they might still survive. So if you want to fully ult the corner, you can go ahead and do that, but you'll be owing less of the site. So yeah, very good. Obviously, you want to be pairing out with flashes and everything like that too. So yeah, also if you want to see any like me actually playing the game, let me know as well. I can do that. And how I can play Breach, and if you want to learn by watching me play or watching a pro play, obviously go ahead and do that as well. There's not really too many notorious Breach players. Zelsis has had a few good Breach games if you want to go and look at Sentinels in that preseason tournament. But yeah, the sample size for Breach on this map is quite small, so I recommend just watching Sentinels if you want to learn how to play Breach very well. Because I don't really think many of the other big teams, I haven't really seen them run a Breach. I always see a lot of Gecko, PRX run KO and Gecko. A lot of people run Fade and Gecko, so yeah. Sentinels is a team to be watching if you want to see Breach be played effectively on this map. So that is where this video will come to its conclusion. If you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Obviously, let me know what you would like to see in the comments below, what kind of content you would like to see coming up. See you for those, and peace. Bye.